G'day mates, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how the pros are playing trios. This means where are they dropping, how are they fighting, what items are they carrying, who's carrying what item, what are their rotations, and then just some ridiculous new tips and tricks that I didn't put in my solo tips and tricks video because they only work in trios, but they're pretty much free eliminations. Using things like crash pads into boogie bombs, just doing ridiculous things that almost no one at a lower level is doing. And I guarantee if you can watch this video through, learn all these tricks, you will be performing so well in Trio Arena, which is going to set you up for tournaments in the future. If you're hoping to do well in Trio FNCS, you need to start getting these things down now and start practicing them. So I hope this video helps. If it does, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I hope you enjoy the video. Now, before I jump into how the pros are currently playing trios, if you're struggling to find a trio, I've been promoting my Discord as the place to do it. The link will be in the description. I'll put it on the screen here as well. I've got a whole bunch of looking for group channels for every major region, console and PC. So if you're struggling to find good teammates, head over there. There's already been so many people from my stream and from my YouTube who've been able to finally find good teammates with it. So check it out. Now let's jump into the video. Now, let's talk about where to drop. This is going to be the most important thing for you because with 100% chest spawns down the drain, if you've played trios at all, you know what I'm talking about. You get on a you go Lazy Lake, you get in a fight, and you leave with 1 mini and 3 bandages to your name, and then you lose to the first team you run into anyway because you have no loot. So there are there's 2 drop spots on the map which are super strong right now: Craggy Cliffs and Slurpy Swamps for trios. You can probably figure out why. It's because they have permanent shield that you can break to give your whole team shield. So Craggy Cliffs drop at the main house. There's enough shield barrels there to give you and all your teammates full shield. Slurpy Swamps, obviously heaps of shield there, but the other advantage is the ability to fish. I've made whole videos on how strong boat fishing is right now, and it's even better for trios. So the goal here is, if you drop Craggy or Slurpy, triple drop the main house of either of those places so you can get max shield together, get the loot that you can, and then you'll have a shield advantage over any opponent you're fighting. And then once you fight them, don't worry about burning through any extra meds you have because you won't need to hold on to them. Quickly close out the fight, then grab a boat and start fishing in the area around it. So obviously Slurpy, fish around the slurp pools, and then if you're a Craggy, fish on the north side of the coast there. You'll then be able to use all your meds in the fight at the spawn to win it, and then walk away with stacked loot from the fish anyway. So the next team you roll up on, who probably has 1 mini and 3 bandages to their name, you're going to beat them. It's 100% the strategy to go with right now. Also, remember, I didn't include this in my fishing video. If you turn your effects up to high, you can see fishing holes from way further away, which will make this process a lot faster. So just a little tip for you there. Now, I'm going to leave tips and tricks to the very end to show you how the pros are just picking up free eliminations, because I first want to talk about what items they're carrying, which then allow them to do those tips and tricks. So obviously, again, with the low chest spawn, sometimes everyone's not walking out with the best loot possible right now. So the best strategy you can have right now is you want to make sure that your 2 most mechanical, strongest fighters in your team are getting the strongest shotgun, the strongest AR, so don't give them the Stark rifle or the scoped AR. They're going to need an AR to follow up with their shotgun, and give them the more aggressive utility. Give them boogie bombs, give them crash pads, because that will allow them to boogie bomb an opponent and finish them off, or crash pad phase in a box. So that means your more passive player, the rifler normally, the one who's going to sit back, lead the team and take shots, that's the player that should be getting the scoped AR, the Stark rifle, maybe the shockwaves, maybe the peppers, just the things that are your team needs to have, but they're not going to help you win fights too much. You're saving them for later for rotation. So that's the way you want to split up your loot. This also means if you have extra time at a drop spot, say you go Craggy or Slurpy like I talked about, make sure you're upgrading your shotguns on your fraggers. So at least one of your players should be walking away with a purple shotgun. With 3 people farming materials and going somewhere like Craggy or Slurpy that has max material, you should be getting enough mats to give one of your players a good shotgun. That player then needs to obviously carry the team. There's a lot of pressure on them, so figure out in your team who's the best for doing that. But if you get zone, upgrade your shotguns. Right now, shotgun and med advantage is everything in trios. If you can't instantly one pump the 3 people in the team, the fight's going to drag out. So whoever has more meds is probably going to win it. And if you're following my guide, you're going to have more meds because you've gone craggy or slurpy. But it's also going to come down to who has better shotguns. So upgrade it, because if you find any kind of charge that's blue or any pump that's blue, getting to epic is not hard, because now you can side grade and upgrade. That's going to be your main goal. But again, remember, Stark Rifle and scoped ARs are fine, but they're very bad for follow-ups. So say you're the fragger, you pump a guy for 180, and then you pull out your scoped AR and you can't hit a single shot from hip fire, you're going to probably die. So the fragger, whoever's going to go the most aggressive on the walls, needs to have a good AR to follow up with as well. But that doesn't mean get rid of those guns. They're great for long range tags. They're really good for applying pressure in a stalemate where there's 3 players are staring at each other, one's on high ground. Give that to whoever's got the best aim, who's not the best at box fighting. Now, let's talk about some of the tips and tricks you can do to get free eliminations in these fights though. First trick I want to talk about is just using crash pads to easily phase in a boogie bomb. It is the most free way to pick up an elimination on a team that's boxed up or a player that's boxed up. Super simple. There's a player inside this 1x1. All you got to do is have one teammate throw the crash pad on the edge, and then you have to have your other teammate just line up throwing a boogie bomb in. And there's almost no time to react. The main thing you need to make sure with this one is if you throw the bounce pad too much inside the box, it'll obviously bounce pad this player away. So you need to kind of know where they are in the box to throw it on the edge. But it is one of the most free ways right now. Think about it similar to kind of like a heavy snipe RPG. All you're doing is just timing the crash pad so the boogie bomb goes in and the player has no time to react. Now you all just rush in and one pump this guy. It is the most free elimination ever. So the first tip I want to show you is just a ridiculously good trio rotate using only one shockwave. So I first learned this from Chap, and I'll show you how he sets it up, and then I'll explain exactly what it is and how it works. So Chap calls we need to focus on the rotate, so he starts looking around for what he's going to do. He builds a 1x1 in front of them and then goes up a layer. So what he's going to do is he's going to set up a shockwave trick, where one of the issues with shockwaving an entire trio is if you're too close together and you bump into each other, some of you don't go too far and it ruins everything. So if you have a box beneath you and then you do a rotated stair, one player stands on top of the stair and then 2 people go beneath the stair, then when you throw the shockwave, all 3 of you go max distance and you all stay together. So right now, booger has the shockwave, Chap's calling where to throw it, he throws it, and now all 3 of them go together, and look at that on the minimap. They literally land all on top of each other. This is one of the best trio rotates you can possibly do, and it only costs 1 shockwave. So I'm gonna show you in creative just exactly how to set it up in case that wasn't clear enough. So to show you exactly what was going on there, all you need to do is have a 1x1 on the floor next to it with a ramp, and then I'm just gonna go up and I'm gonna build the top part. So all you need is just a ramp facing you this way, and then have a 1x1 on top. Now with the stair as well, you're doing a spiral staircase. So you're gonna grab it from this back corner here, rotate it all the way around, accept it, I'm gonna stay on top of it. So if I was the person with the shockwave, I would stand on top, I would stand here. Your 2 teammates just have to stand next to each other, in line with each other underneath. Just make sure they're not too close together. If they're right on top of each other, that's where you start bumping into each other and it's really annoying. So gonna build it again. And then all you gotta do now with the shockwave is you wanna throw it about halfway up on the stair, throw it in the middle unless you wanna go a little bit more of an angle. If you throw it this way, you will obviously go more out on a diagonal. So throw it there, shockwave out. And obviously if I had friends and I had a trio, we'd all be together. The second rotate trick I want to show you is, of course, again, from Booger, Chap, and Jamper. So this is just using a bounce pad and a shockwave. This one will send you further, but you need to make sure you have your distancing correct. So they make like a little bit of a kind of triangle formation. They're all pretty close together, but Chap's forward a little bit. You put the bounce pad on the floor, and then you throw the shockwave, and then you all bounce out together. And again, look how close all 3 of them are together. Look how far they just traveled, and all 3 of them are completely together. Now, it isn't as simple as it looks. There's a few things about when you place the bounce pad, when you throw the shockwave, and where you throw it that I'm going to again break down in creative to make sure you're across it. The setup on this one is super easy. It's just a 1x1. Again, you got to put the bounce pad on the floor and the shockwave. Now, what I wanted to talk about was, depending on where you're bouncing on the bounce pad, you will go further. So if I throw the shockwave right as I hit the ground on the bounce pad, I'm not going to go as far. So you pretty much want to time it, throw it right at the very edge, but don't throw it on the wall. And you want to time it so that it's right as you hit your head. So I hit my head. Look how far I go, because I was at maximum bounce when I threw it. I wasn't falling down. I did it when my head first hit the roof, so that by the time the shockwave went off, I'd gone down and then back up, and then it sent me. And again, if I had friends, they'd all be with me right now. The second super free way to pick up eliminations I've seen a lot of pros doing, and unfortunately I can't find the clip to go back to. Again, it's chat, booger, and jamper. But if you've got a player built out in a base like this and there's no builds underneath them, if you've got a crash pad, you can super easily put a stair underneath them, throw the crash pad. But what you need to do in trios that makes it so good is when that breaks them out, they're going to fall on the crash pad. That's why you couldn't do it in solos. But in trios, if you time it right and you want to do it perfectly, you want to do a countdown, 3, 2, 1, throw the crash pad, have one of your teammates break the crash pad as soon as it breaks the build so the player can't bounce on it, and then have the other player put up a cone. So again, obviously in solos I can't really do that, but it's very simply just throw the crash pad on the stair, break the builds, have a teammate shoot it so the player falls down onto the floor, and then have the other player cone them. Chap, Booger, and Jamper do this in so many endgames to pick up the most free eliminations, but you can do it in early and mid game as well. All it needs is a player to be boxed up with no builds beneath them. So again, get that combo down. One person throws the crash pad, one person shoots the crash pad, one person puts a cone, and then all three of you just walk up and pump them in the face. All right, guys, that does it for another video. I know a lot of people are struggling with trios with this chest change, so I just wanted to make a video of some things that you can use to get around it, just some items you can use to get free eliminations so you're making the most out of what little loot you have, where to start off your game so you're walking away so much stronger than other teams. Remember, like I said in my solo drop spot guide, if you adapt to these new changes with the chest and you overcome them, you're now going to be way more stacked while everyone else is running around shambles. So for you, if you get on board now and you start practicing these things, you can be even better off because of these changes than everyone else. So if you guys liked the video, if you made it this far, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below, which trio do you think is doing it best? Obviously, I showed off a whole bunch of tips and tricks that Booger, Jamper, and Chap have come up with, but you tell me, is there anyone else doing it better that I'm missing? If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.